Foolish mateys, to another episode of the HitchHiking Host Show. Yes, you have the right show. This is our Halloween episode. We are your ghost hosts, Wes,
Captain Amanda,
and Jen, Pirate I got nothing creative.
She's like James Bond. Jen, Pirate Jen. Obviously, I'm in a Jack Sparrow costume. If you're watching this show, I hope you would know that. We are going to talk about some interesting stuff this week. We're going to do our first ever top 5. Talk about some other things, of course. So I'm going to hand it over to Amanda for this first segment because something very interesting hit the web this week.
Oh, yes! Okay, so a few days ago, the Age of Ultron trailer was leaked online. Marvel Entertainment then replied by posting the full high-quality trailer. It was supposed to be released actually this week with the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode, but it was actually released a week early, and it is amazing. You have to check it out.
Definitely. I started laughing when I heard the "There Are No Strings" music in the background. I'm like, wow, that's something.
I had already heard the audio from Comic-Con.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was, but I had no idea what, like, the video would be.
Right.
So, watching it, I think I literally screamed. I was just screaming the whole time.
Nice. Yeah. Jen, did you see it?
I have not seen it yet.
Okay. Well, definitely get on that. There's also, speaking of that, I've got no strings, there's a funny parody video of a Pinocchio, like, clips to the Age of Ultron trailer audio.
Oh, really? I thought we were going to talk about the My Heart Will Go On to the Age of Ultron.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
You have to look that up. I give credit to the owner, but I don't know who it is. I just saw it randomly online. But you have to watch it.
Whoever you are, thank you. Alright, this week we're going to be doing something a little different instead of the news. We are going to be doing our first ever top 5, where we're going to be given a topic, and we're going to each give our top 5 answers or picks of whatever that topic may be. So this week we are going to do our favorite top 5 Walt Disney World current attractions. Obviously that means they're currently running and not like extinct, which will be another week. I am going to start it off. Number 5 on my list is the Enchanted Tiki Room. Now, obviously, I have the shirts to prove it's one of my favorites. I was not a huge fan of the Zazu and Iago bit when they had that. I hadn't seen it for years, in fact. But when they brought back the original version, I got to see the original version, obviously, before they turned it into that under new management. So I got to see the old version, which is now the new version, I guess. The original version, let's put it that way. And I absolutely love it. When I was in Disneyland in May, I saw it 3 times during the trip and absolutely loved it. But we're talking about the Walt Disney World version. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites. Number 4 on my list. I'm in the costume right now. Pirates of the Caribbean. A Disney classic all around. One of the best rides in any theme park. Walt Disney World's version is a bit shorter than Disneyland's. I know I'm going to get hecked from that from my other hosts here. But at least I can get on the Walt Disney World version that wasn't closed. Definitely, if you don't know Yo-Ho, Yo-Ho, A Pirate's Life for me, you're in trouble. And you're a Disney fan, you gotta... Pirates of the Caribbean is a must-ride if you've never been to Disney World. My number 3 pick is a more, let's say you have to have a little bit of guts to go on this one. The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. I was very afraid to go on that ride as a little kid. I finally got on when I was a little older, and I absolutely love everything about it. We've done the Twilight Zone episode on here, but the queue itself is just wild to see the old newspapers and half-drinking teacups, and then you get onto the ride, and it's just insane. So I love that one. My number 2 favorite ride. This actually is different than what most people are thinking. For many years, my number 1 favorite ride was Splash Mountain. That has now changed. My number 2 is Splash Mountain. I'll tell you why when I get to my number 1. Hold on. I got dreadlocks in my mouth. All right.
You're building the suspense.
Yes. Splash Mountain was the first ride I ever went on in a Disney park when I was 8 years old. And I absolutely loved it. I remembered seeing the planning videos. Yeah, VHS. Think of that. And I was like, that is the one thing I want to go on. So that was the one thing I went on. The first thing. I loved it ever since. Always one of my favorites. You gotta love the drop. We know I love everything that What Does Brer Fox Say. And I love all the characters. I love the Song of the South, the non-racist parts. So throwing that out there. So that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Love all the songs. I love How Do You Do, and that always gets stuck in my head. Finally.
That's gonna be stuck in my head.
Yeah. How do you do? Okay. My number 1 pick.
Anyway,
the Haunted Mansion. I changed my mind in Disneyland that was my new favorite ride, because not just because we have the HitchHiking host show and I'm really into it. It's just all of the detail in that attraction is mind-blowing. I've been on that ride. I know, Jen and Mandy, you're going to say you've been on there 1,000 times or something. But I've been on that ride at least more than 10 times. And you've been on it 10 times this month or something. But every single time I go on that ride, I find something new. Whether it be in the ballroom scene or somewhere else, that's most likely. The ballroom scene, there's so much going on. But there's always something that I hadn't seen before that I see again, or finally see this time. I just absolutely love it. The whole Haunted Mansion theme of being ghosts and scary, and even though it's not really scary, I just absolutely love everything about it. I just thought, while I was standing in the queue after the stretch rooms in Disneyland, I'm like, this has to be my favorite ride. But anyway, so those are my top 5.
So my number 5 is Tiki Room. I went through a period of hating it, and in that period I learned that it was one of the first attractions at Disney I've ever went on when I was literally just a little baby. And now that it has been restored back to its original, it's become one of my favorites. So I love it. It's wonderful. It's awesome. And I also like sing like the song every day. In the tiki 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 room. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Number 4 is the Tower of Terror. Ever since I was old enough to watch it, I've had an obsession with the TV show. So my obsession with the TV show kind of just moved on to my obsession with the ride, even though I refused to go on the ride until I was 11. I always enjoyed walking through the queue and looking at everything. But I used to have a huge fear of the ride because they make it seem really scary. Okay, number 3 is a very new one, but it has quickly become one of my favorites, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I don't know why, it's just so unique with the woo of the carts. That was really lame, I know, but that's honestly one of my favorite things. I just love how exciting it is if you sit in the back. It's like a kiddie ride if you sit in the front, but if you sit in the back, it's a roller coaster. Tips. Okay, number 2 is the Haunted Mansion. I've always loved that ride. I probably ride it like 6 times per trip. Yeah. Sorry, Wes. I mean, I pretty much topped you with how many times you've been on it.
I would hope so.
Yeah. But just like Wes said, really every time you go on it, there's another detail that you can find. There's so much detail. It's incredible. And number one, Space Mountain. I don't know why, but I just ride that ride over and over. Even though the line is usually ridiculously long, it is one of my favorite rides. So I love the music. The music is probably my favorite part of the ride. I don't know why. I have an obsession with the music, but everything.
Oh, in the queue, that.
Okay. Music break. So anyway, yes, those are my top 5.
My top 5 are, a lot of them are going to sound familiar, but they're not repeats. I have mine written down ahead of time. Number 5, I know this is going to be kind of a weird one, but Great Movie Ride.
Ooh.
To me, you get to ride the movies. I don't know. I like it. That and it's nice and relaxing. Number 4, Under the Sea, The Voyage of the Little Mermaid. I actually got to ride it as a soft opening in October. And that, to me, it actually made me tear up a little bit, which is really hard to do. I don't cry easily. But, yeah, it's just one of those rides. I always wanted to be Ariel when I was a little girl, and now it's like the movie come to life. So for me, I can't help but love it. Number 3 is the Tiki Room, because someday I will live inside of there. I love that ride. Or that show, I should say. That show. Number 2 is Pirates, because I love pirates, in case you guys couldn't tell. And number 1 is Haunted Mansion. And that ride, I know you guys were talking about your first rides. That's one of my earliest memories, is being on Haunted Mansion when I was 4 years old. Like, my grandmother passed away, like, years ago, but I remember being on it with her, and, like, the hitchhiking ghost in between us. So for me, it just has sentimental value, I guess you can say. That's my top 5.
Okay, well, for our Halloween episode, we figured it would be cool to do an interesting, scarier ride. Another version of our beloved Haunted Mansion. This is actually the first time we're going to be doing an international Disney attraction. You can find this in Disneyland Paris. It is Phantom Manor. When Tony Baxter and Imagineers were coming up with ideas for their new European Disney park, they didn't want to just copy the rides they had in the others, but also improve some of the concepts of the attractions. Baxter put Jeff Burke in charge as show producer for the Frontierland section of the park. Imagineers knew for sure they wanted an attraction similar to the popular Haunted Mansion. Burke came up with the idea of a grand Victorian house that fell upon hard times. The rundown look went against Walt's vision of keeping the outside of the Haunted Mansions to look pristine on the outside, but Baxter agreed with Burke's look.
The main storyline of the attraction centers on one of the founding families of Thunder Mesa, the name of the town in Frontierland. The daughter of the house, named Melanie Ravenswood, became engaged to a train engineer. On the wedding day, the groom never showed up. Melanie never gave up hope, thinking about her lost love would come back one day. Unbeknownst to her, a phantom appeared in the manor on her wedding day and started to bring his fiendish, dead friends into the manor with him. Today, no one knows if Melanie is still in the house on the hill, but her voice can be heard singing near the manor, and lights can occasionally be seen on in the house.
The Imagineers wanted Phantom Manor to be a darker, more eerie attraction than the fun-spirited Haunted Mansion, and went with a good versus evil story. Some of the story was inspired by the infamous Broadway show, Phantom of the Opera, as well. Sorry, I just had to do that. Burke teamed up with John Denby and made a new soundtrack for the attraction. However, the popular tune of Grim Grinning Ghosts can still be heard towards the end of the ride. Burke also decided there would be no narrations while guests were in their doom buggies, as he wanted the visuals to tell the story. There is a ghost host, however, the original being that of the famous horror actor Vincent Price. Price recorded the script in both French and English, which was much like that of the Haunted Mansion. Soon after, though, French officials demanded the narration had to be mostly in French, so Gerard Chevalier replaced Price's narration. Sorry if I totally butchered that. I am Captain America, so I had to give an Americanized pronunciation. Phantom Manor opened on Euro Disney's first day on April 12, 1992.
While walking through the queue, guests pass a wine-covered gazebo with tea set out for two and a music box playing an eerie tune. If you look close in the windows of the manor, you could possibly see a lit candle going from one room to another, or possibly a quick image of Melanie, or even the Phantom. Guests then enter the manor through the front door and enter into the foyer, where they're greeted by the ghost host. In the smallest mirror, a small image of Melanie's face fades in and out. From there, guests file into the stretching room, which will look very familiar to Haunted Mansion fans. The room is a replica of that found in Disneyland, which uses an elevator system. The paintings found in the room depict Melanie around the manor in happier times. After the room stretches, the image of a hanging corpse and a skeletal figure pulling the rope can be seen. Rumor has it, the corpse is the missing groom. However, Jeff Burke has never confirmed it. Also, Vincent Price laughter is heard in this scene.
Guests then walk down a hallway filled with moving portraits and busts and find themselves into the Doom Buggy loading area. The vehicles are exactly the same as the other mansions and use the Omni-Mover system. The loading area is quite different, as we see the grand staircase and a storm going on outside the window. Once inside the buggy, guests round the corner and pass by a young Melanie holding a candelabra and singing, bowing to the visitors. Much like the other mansions, an endless hallway is seen, however. Instead of just a moving candelabra, Melanie can be seen as well. Next, riders pass by a piano playing by itself and a red-eyed raven sitting next to it. The banging doors and same wallpaper from the other mansions follow. After that, riders travel into the seance room, where they are greeted by the famous disembodied talking head in a crystal ball, Madame Leota. Leota speaks in both French and English, inviting us to a wedding reception and making an eerie prediction about a ravishing bride and a vanishing groom.
Next up is the Grand Ballroom, which is very similar to Haunted Mansion, seeing ghosts dancing the waltz and gathering around a large table. Some differences are Melanie seen at the top of the staircase greeting guests, singing, and looking up at the outline of the Phantom, who is laughing at her. Also, a moldy wedding cake on the table can be seen. The pepper ghost effect is used in the manor as well, but unlike the other mansions, the men are leading the waltz instead of the women. The next scene riders pass by is Melanie sitting in her bedroom weeping in front of a mirror with the shape of a skull inside. The doom buggies exit her room and into a graveyard where they pass the laughing phantom holding a shovel at an open grave. The doom buggies begin to turn backwards as they pass skeletons coming out of open caskets fighting over limbs. Welcome to Disney. The infamous singing busts from the Haunted Mansions are then singing Grim Grinning Ghosts.
After this, riders enter Phantom Canyon, which is basically the hell version of Thunder Mesa. So not only do you go to hell in Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, but also in Phantom Manor. The legit old western ghost town has a railroad station complete with a station master who offers tickets to the underworld, as well as the saloon and bank robbery. The Phantom is seen once again next to a single open coffin, inviting us to join him and cackling. Melanie's skeleton saves riders from the Phantom and points the way out. The Doom Buggies go down a corridor of mirrors where mansion fans know to find the hitchhiking ghosts. Instead here, a vision of the Phantom sitting between guests can be seen, trying to keep them in the manor until he finally dissipates in the final mirror. After exiting the Doom Buggies, guests pass through the wine cellar where the little Leota figure found in the other mansions beckon us to hurry back! And don't forget to bring your death certificate. Guests come to one final pathway, where they can travel back to Thunder Mesa or go through the Boot Hill Graveyard, finding humorous and manor-oriented tombstones, such as the Ravenwoods. Melanie's tomb can be found, and you can hear it beating as an homage to the original Haunted Mansion bride. If you look back at the exit, you can also see the Phantom peering out the window. Beautiful, dark, a great storyline, and wonderful detail make Phantom Manor an excellent addition into the Haunted Mansion family. So, Phantom Manor, if there is one ride to get me to Disneyland Paris, it is this. Of course, there's a lot of other great rides at Disneyland Paris, too, as well. I told the two ladies here, in my touring of Paris, number 1 would be Phantom Manor, 2 Eiffel Tower. That is how much I would love to go on this attraction. It's the Haunted Mansion, and there are many, many parts that are the same if you watch the video. The ballroom, they basically took the outline of the Haunted Mansion and put different things in those spots. But it's great. It's a great update to what the Haunted Mansion is. Which is what they were going for. I love the storyline. It is a lot darker than the Haunted Mansion. Of course, it doesn't mean I don't like the Haunted Mansion, but this sounds like something it's definitely up there on my bucket list. Let's just put it that way. I would just love to check it out. Definitely, if you haven't seen Phantom Manor and you're a Haunted Mansion fan, check it out on YouTube. There's also a documentary on there that I would recommend watching.
I am interested in checking it out because Haunted Mansion goes way back for me, and from the videos I've seen, it looks incredible. I wish they would bring something similar to the United States, but until then, I am willing to go to Paris to go see it.
Paris.
I was just gonna say, hitchhiking host road trip. Let's hitchhike to Paris.
Road trip.
I was going to say road trip, but then I was like, wait, no, it won't be a road trip.
Yeah, that'd be a big road. Well, that does it once again for another episode. Ladies, why don't you tell us where you can find us on the interwebs?
You can find me on Twitter at Mandy Disney, and on Flickr, actually. I've never actually mentioned my Flickr, but you can find me on Flickr at Storybook Princess.
You can find me on Twitter at JenMia83.
Alright, for me, you can find me at WesAList on Twitter, and you can subscribe to my YouTube, youtube.com/westside515. Our hitchhiking host links. Follow us on Twitter at HitchHostShow. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/HitchHostShow. Subscribe to us right here on YouTube, youtube.com/HitchHostShow. And follow us on the Instagram. If you go on Instagram, it's at HitchHostShow. Let's just put it that way. Every single like, follow, subscription goes to one more thing. Hopefully that I'll be doing at Disney World. We might run into a little snag with that. We'll find out though. So if not, I'll do something else crazy. So do it. So, until next time, don't forget to...
Revenez, revenez, vous venez à peine d'arriver.
For another episode.
Bye.
The Phantom of the Opera is dead.